Hi everyone, so please excuse any of the mess that you might see in the background, but I thought that it was finally about time that I sat down and did a little video about mental health, because I did say like ages and ages ago that I was going to do this and I never really got around to it. So I thought I would start in this video by talking about like myself personally and the things that I've been through and the things that I've overcome and stuff, and then I'm hoping that I can kind of like offer you guys some advice. I know that there are so many people, young people and, well, any age of people, but I know that a lot of young people like watch my videos and stuff. So many young people go through like mental health issues, specifically like anxiety, depression. There's a whole other spectrum of mental health problems and conditions and that kind of thing as well, and I just want to say I'm not a doctor, I'm not a psychiatrist, I'm not a psychologist. I did study psychology A-level, but like that's got nothing to do with this. I just thought I would talk a bit about my experience with anxiety. I have been lucky enough in my life that I haven't suffered with depression, but I'm hoping that even just like hearing my story and my experience and like how I got help and stuff might be able to help people with like a variety of different mental health disorders and that kind of stuff. The reason that I'm making this video is because I want to try and like share my story and hope that it can like inspire some other people to go to their doctors and get help. And yeah, I just thought it would, I don't know, you guys already know quite a bit about it because I've spoken about it in like multiple vlogs before, like if you've been here since the very beginning, but I just thought I would make a whole video on it because I felt like it needed to be I feel like it needs to be talked about because not many people really talk about it. Well, they do more these days, but I still feel like it's quite a taboo subject. So anyway, I do have a couple of notes written next to me, and I'm just gonna like, I've written it down because there was obviously like a lot to remember because I'm now 20, I'm nearly 21, and this started when I was 7. So it actually all like started my anxiety when I was 7. I was at school, and by the way, trigger warning, like if you are, you know, if you're particularly sensitive to topics about anxiety, and if you are particularly sensitive to, I'm just going to say it, it sounds really dark, but if you're particularly sensitive to death or like terrorism and other things and things to do with anxiety and that kind of thing, if this video is going to trigger you, then please don't watch it. I just want to warn you now. So yeah, anyway, right, so when I was 7, it was the year of the London bombings, like the bombings on the tube and the buses in London. I don't know, a lot of you guys might not have even been alive when this happened, you might not have remembered it, but I just remember I was 7 years old and we were all called into the school hall, and they basically said to us like, there's been a terrorist attack in London, and if any of you want to like call your parents or anything, then you can do that. And I just remember at the time I had no idea. I knew that my dad worked away from home, but I had no idea if he worked in London. Like I was 7 years old, I didn't really know what my parents did, and yeah, I basically just remember I was so scared that my dad might have somehow been involved, and that I was just worried that my dad had died, and basically that's when it all began. And after that happened, I refused to go on a train. I barely went out, even just to like local towns which weren't even like central London. I wouldn't go there. Anybody, I know this sounds really awful and it sounds racist, but I was a 7-year-old, this is what I associated with. Anybody with a backpack or anybody like with a beard, just like I would refuse to go near them, and I would freak out, and I would get my parents to take me away from wherever they were. I wouldn't go on any form of public transport at all. Basically it got to the point where it was really bad. My mum actually said that she went to the doctors. I think I was on a waiting list to see somebody about it when I was 7, but then it just kind of like disappeared. I don't really remember when, but I think this went on for maybe like a year, and then I was okay. And then up until the age of about, yeah, I think it was 16, 17, when I started to get a bit older, like I went through, you know, a lot of my childhood being fine. For some reason it just disappeared. Like I don't remember why, I was so young, I don't remember why it went away, but it just kind of went away, and I think I was okay. I think I still was able to go to London and that kind of thing, and yeah, I was fine for quite a few years until about 10 years later, when I was 16, 17, my anxiety just decided to come back. I literally have no idea why. The first time it came back, well, I kind of noticed that I was starting to feel like anxious in certain situations, and I was thinking, oh, like these feelings I haven't felt in a long time. And then when I actually decided, I'd kind of like been keeping it in and not really like told anybody about it, but when I did tell my parents about it, and when I decided that I wanted to get help, is when I went to a party like in sixth form. We had like a freshers party, even though it wasn't like uni. They called it freshers, and it was like a club night thing, and I remember being really nervous about going. And when I went there, like I didn't really know why, and I still don't really know why. I ended up having a panic attack and getting my dad to come and pick me up, and I literally have no idea what that happened. I just remember I was in the club, and I just remember suddenly feeling like my heart was beating faster and faster. I felt like I couldn't breathe. I had to run outside. I started crying, and I was like hyperventilating, and everyone was like, so what's going on? And I remember the bouncers at the club thought that I was drunk, like I hadn't even been drinking. They thought it was because I was drunk and like getting myself worked up. Yeah, my dad ended up coming and picking me up, and I went home. So then after that, I think a couple of months or maybe weeks later, I had a school trip to Iceland. And I just remember we went like caving. We went in these caves, and there was like tunnels and stuff that we had to go in, and I just remember thinking like I really don't want to do it. And before I went on the trip, I asked the teachers if I would have to do it, and they said they wouldn't make anybody do anything they didn't want to do. And then when we got to these caves when I was in Iceland, like the whole trip was amazing. It was such a great trip. Apart from this one moment, I also actually ended up falling over on like the second day, and I couldn't walk and I couldn't go up any of the stairs or anything. But anyway, that's a sideline. Yeah, when we got to the caves, the teacher said, well, there's nobody that can stay outside of the caves to look after you, so you're just gonna have to go in. And I was like, no thanks. But I thought I'd give it a go. I ended up going in these caves again. I ended up having a panic attack, completely freaking out, crying, making a fool of myself in front of everybody. And then when I got home from then, I said to my mum, I need to go to the doctors. I need to see somebody about this. Like, I'm feeling like this too often for it to be normal. And then after that trip in Iceland, I went to multiple parties with my friends. Like, I feel like 16, 17 is around the time that people start having parties and drinking, and pretty much every party that I would go to, I would have a panic attack and end up having to come home. And so I just stopped going to parties. I then stopped getting invited to parties, and I think people just thought I was weird and that I didn't like going out. Firstly, I don't really like going out anyway, but I think it all kind of stemmed from the first time I had a panic attack was in a club, so now I really dislike clubbing. Like, I have been to a couple of like club nights, like Cheesy Tuesdays and stuff like that. Like, I don't mind those, but only when I'm like with my really good friends, and I'm feeling safe and stuff. So yeah, there were many parties where I had like seen my friends get really drunk and like pass out. And I remember there was one party in particular which like sticks in my mind. There was one girl that I was friends with, and she'd been drinking loads and she passed out, and they phoned an ambulance. And I remember, like, I think they either phoned an ambulance or they phoned her mum, I can't remember, but I just remember she was like carried out of this party like unconscious, and I just remember looking at her and thinking that she was dead. And that's what like triggered a panic attack. And basically all of my anxiety seemed to stem back to death, which I then figured out later in my life that that's what it was. And yeah, I'm really sorry if this is triggering to people, I'm just telling my story. So yeah, I went to the doctors and said all of these things, like I've been having panic attacks, been feeling really anxious about certain situations, and I was referred to CAMS, which I can't remember what it stands for, but it's like an organisation where it's like a bunch of like counsellors and it's like I think it's a charity. Is it a charity? It's like an organisation to do with mental health. So I was referred to CAMS. I was put on a waiting list for months. When I finally got an appointment, I went there with my mum. That was another thing. Like, I would never go anywhere without my parents, like ever, by myself at all. I would always go somewhere with somebody. I never went out by myself, even though I was like 17, 18. Yeah, so I went there with my mum and we talked through everything that had been going on, about me not being able to go out by myself at all, having panic attacks at parties, just generally feeling anxious in my daily life. There were like again, like, it kind of came back, the whole like not wanting to go on public transport. I'd never been on a train or a bus or in a taxi by myself. I don't think, like, I wouldn't even go in taxis or go on buses or go on trains, like, for these kind of couple of years of my life, up until I got help. I refused to go to London, really. I avoided London as much as I possibly could. I wouldn't go on the tube. Basically any public transport I would avoid. Wouldn't go out by myself. So yeah, we explained this whole thing to CAMHS, and they said that they couldn't help me because I wasn't suicidal, which I mean, I know that the NHS is like inundated with people with different mental health conditions, and I can kind of understand that obviously they have to focus their time and their money on people that are, like, you know, at risk of hurting themselves or others, but it was still like difficult to hear that they said to me, like, you do need some help and you would benefit from some CBT or something, like cognitive behavioural therapy, but they said, we're sorry, we can't offer it to you, bye. And that was basically it. So after then I was feeling like super disheartened, thinking, oh my god, I'm literally going to be like this forever. I'm not going to be able to go out, I'm not going to be able to like enjoy my life. And so yeah, I went back to the doctors. I think I ended up going back to the doctors maybe, yeah, so I went back to the doctors again, and they said, yeah, we're sorry they couldn't help you. Here's a charity that might be able to help you. And basically I had like a local charity that offered counselling, so I applied for that, and I think again I was on a waiting list for a couple of months, and then I was given some counselling sessions. And counselling is basically where you go to somebody and you like talk through your feelings, and they try to help you like understand your feelings and stuff. But for me personally, I didn't really find that counselling helped me at all, really. I used to dread going to my sessions. I really don't want this to put anybody off counselling, by the way, because obviously different things work for different people. Why am I not in focus? Yeah, I know that counselling has worked for so many people, and it can be really great, but for just me personally, I really didn't get along with it. I didn't like the things that I had to do in the sessions. Like, I had to, I don't know, just some weird things that made me uncomfortable. Like, she'd be like, okay, imagine your anxiety is sitting in this chair, what would you say to it? And I was like, I don't really want to do that. And just like doing stuff like that, it just made me feel uncomfortable and weird. So I had all of my counselling sessions, still wasn't feeling any better. So I think we went back to the doctors again. Moral of the story is, keep going back to the doctors until they can help you. And I think the issue was with me is that there really is not that much help until you're 18 plus. There is help for adults. I know there's still not enough help available for adults, but there was more. There was barely anything available for like children, which I counted as when I was 17. So yeah, we went back to the doctors again, and I was basically told to come back when I was 18, because they couldn't help me, which again was really disheartening. And I was thinking, great, am I just supposed to wait around and, you know, not have anybody to help me until I'm 18? But that's what I did. And then when I was 18, we went back, and I was put on a waiting list for some CBT, which is cognitive behavioural therapy. And cognitive behavioural therapy is basically a type of therapy where they help you like rewire your thoughts. So it helps your thoughts like associate things with different things. That made no sense. I would recommend like googling it to explain it a lot better than I can anyway. But it basically helps you change your mindset, and you like learn to think in a different way. After waiting a few months, we got a phone call, and it said that I had some CBT sessions, and I think they said that I could have 25 sessions on the NHS, which is what I ended up having. And yeah, I was so nervous to go to my first CBT session that I actually felt sick. But I had the most lovely therapist called Curtis, who I absolutely loved. He was so great. He was like quite a young guy. He was really lovely, really friendly, like seemed so understanding. And I just got on really well with him. And like after the first session, I was really optimistic, because I think it can depend on like the therapist that you get allocated, and if somebody doesn't work for you, then go back to the doctors and ask if you could try somebody else or whatever. And so yeah, I had this lovely therapist, and what happened was we talked through everything, all of my issues. Like I basically told him all the things that I was anxious of, and then we put them all on post-it notes ranging from like worst anxiety to like least anxiety. So on there I think I had like flying on airplanes, which is something else that I didn't do and avoided for like many years, and the whole time that I would fly, if I did fly, because I went to Portugal and I flew, I was literally shaking for the whole flight. And then another flight that I went on with Sam, I was like crying the whole journey and it was awful. But yeah, so it was planes, going on trains, going on buses, getting a taxi, going to the cinema, because I had a thing about cinemas after the cinema shooting thing in America, answering the phone, answering the door, going to London, just going like out by myself to a shop, because I'd never done that before. I'd never been shopping by myself. And so yeah, we put them in order, and then each week basically I worked on a different thing. I kind of was set like homework, and so like one week I would have to, I think how we started out is I had to go shopping with my parents, and then they had to leave me in a shop, and I had to shop by myself for like 10 minutes. And then I would meet up with them, and basically I had this like sheet, and I had to write down what I thought would happen, like how anxious I was on a scale of 1 to 10, and then after I'd done it I had to write down what actually happened, what I'd learnt from it, and then how anxious I was feeling about doing it. And then basically each of the tasks that I had on my list, like shopping, talking, going on the train, all of that kind of thing, I just did over and over and over again until like my anxiety got less and less. And I found that doing it that way and having somebody there to like motivate me and inspire me and actually set my homework, I found really helped me. And basically I had yes, each week we worked on a new goal, and I did different tasks. So it would be like shopping alone without my parents for 10 minutes, and then 20 minutes, and then 30 minutes, and then it would be like go drive to a shop and stay there for like 5 minutes, like drive there by myself, that kind of thing. So it just like progressively got more and more, and I found that it helped. So basically I ended up having the maximum amount of sessions on the NHS, and I found that I was improving, but I still felt like at the end of the sessions I needed more, like because I hadn't conquered the going on a train. I'd just done, I think, the bus. I did the bus for like a half-an-hour journey by myself, but I still hadn't been on a train, I still hadn't been to London, I still hadn't been on a plane, and I still felt like, and like I still hadn't really, I talked on the phone like a couple of times, but like not really, and I still can't answer the door to the postman. That's the kind of last major one that I'm working on. But yeah, basically I still felt like I needed a lot more sessions at the end of it, and I still felt like, I don't know, I felt a lot better, but I still, yeah, I needed more sessions. I still felt like I couldn't live my life because I refused to go to London or go on a train or anything. And then as soon as I'd finished my CBT, my therapist actually moved away, and he told me in his last session that he was moving, and that if I wanted to have a different person then I could like sign up again and they could try and allocate me more sessions. But I just really didn't want to have a different person, because like I got on so well with this particular guy, and I found that he really encouraged me to like improve and stuff. And at the time, this was when I'd like just started my channel. My channel was like relatively new. I think I had like maybe 10,000 subscribers or something. And he didn't even know this, and I'd been invited to some events in London and I'd turned them all down because I didn't want to go. But yeah, I never told him about my YouTube channel because I was just like embarrassed, I guess. If he was watching this now, he would probably, I don't know, he would be amazed. So yeah, after I'd finished my sessions, I then had a Tarte event. I was invited to an event by Tarte, and that was actually the first time that I met Emma, and I thought, you know what, Tarte is a great brand. I really want to go to this event, but it was in London, and I thought, yeah, I'd have to go there on the train by myself, and go to London, which I really didn't want to do. But I decided to invite this girl that I had heard of before and watched her videos, and she was called Emma from Emma's Rectangle. So I slid in the DMs on Twitter and I asked if she would want to go with me, and I feel like that trip, like I was so motivated to go because I was like, I really want to go, it's going to be a really fun event. And And I knew that Emma was really lovely because we had some like mutual friends and stuff. So yeah, me and Emma went to this tart event, and I think like with her support I was actually okay. I was okay. And basically since then, after I'd been to London, I just kept working on the things that I'd learned through CBT and going through those things in my head, like you know, what did I think was going to happen? How bad is my anxiety before? What actually happened when I was there? Did anything go wrong? No, it didn't go wrong. And then like my anxiety lowered a bit every time. But then still, after then, I still had about a year where every time I did go on a train, I did start going to London. But every event that I went to, I would take my mum with me. And brands didn't know this. I went to events and my mum would literally come with me to the door and then leave and then like go and shop or something. Thank you so much, mum, if you're watching. And dad, like both of my parents have been so lovely throughout all of this. And like taking me places and stuff. And then at the end of the event, I would text my mum and she would come and meet me so that I was never alone. Because yeah, I never really explained, but all of my anxiety, when I started my CBT, I was diagnosed with death anxiety and generalized anxiety disorder, and I think it was something else, or it might have just been those two. Basically, all of my anxiety revolves around my fear of death, which sounds awful and morbid, and I know it's stupid. But it was more than just like, you know, the average person's fear of death. I literally would associate things like, if I get on this train to London, I am going to die, or like if I go out to the shops by myself, somebody's going to kidnap me, I'm going to get murdered, I'm going to get like stalked. Like, it sounds so dumb, but like that's just what my brain would associate with like every task. And like even just things like answering, sorry, my camera like cut off, but it sounds really silly to people that like don't really understand it. I would just, any form of public transport, I just thought I was gonna die, and then that's what would cause me to freak out so much. And then when I went to sleep at night, I literally just couldn't stop thinking about it, and that put me off doing it for years. But I know that that was completely irrational. And luckily, having the CBT, like, it's changed my mindset a lot. My camera is about to die. No, I want to finish this video. So basically, after then, the first time that I'd ever been on a train by myself was February 2017. I think it was just after my 20th birthday. I had a campaign with L'Oreal that I was invited to. And both of my parents were working on this day because it was during a weekday, and I just kind of thought, this opportunity to work with L'Oreal is not going to come around every day. So that really motivated me to go, and I went by myself the whole day to London. I went on the train by myself, I went on the tube by myself, and like after that day I felt such a like sense of accomplishment, because I had never done that before in my life. Like, I'd literally never got on a train by myself until the age of 20, which is mad. And basically after then I did a couple more events, like more spread out, and then I just slowly became more comfortable with taking the train, and familiar with the stations and stuff like that. And now I go to London like pretty regularly by myself, which is mad. Like, it's mad. I just can't believe that so much has changed in the past year. It's not even February again yet. Like, in the past year, literally my whole life has changed. And I just really, really, really hope that this can inspire some people. That, like, I literally thought at one point in my life, like, I'm going to be like this forever. I'm never going to be able to go to London. I'm never going to be able to get a train. I'm never going to be able to get a plane. That was another thing. I have now flown on a plane to America, like a long ass flight, with my best friends, and I went on holiday with them. Last summer, I was supposed to be going to Barcelona with two of my best friends, but I ended up not going because I was too worried that there was going to be a terrorist attack when I was there. And so I lost my money for that trip. I couldn't get my money back. And then this summer, I went on a trip to America with my friends for 2.5 weeks. Like, did I ever think I'd be able to do that? No, but I've done it. Like, you know, it's just mad how the brain works and how you think that you are going to be stuck in a place for the rest of your life, but like I promise you that's not the case. You're not. You can get out of it. Like you can literally get out of it. And like, yeah, I just really hope that that can inspire some of you, because honestly I inspire myself when I just think back on these stories. So I can now speak on the phone. Like I still get really worked up about it, but I can still do it. I've been to London countless times. I've taken the trains and taxis and buses by myself. I've been on the plane. I have answered the door to the postman, but that's just once or twice, and that is something that... Hello, so my camera just ran out of battery, so I'm having to finish this vlog on my phone because I really want to finish it now while I'm like in the mindset and that kind of thing. Yeah, basically just ending this vlog on a grainy phone screen. I'm really sorry. Basically, moral of the story is, if you think that you're never going to be able to do something, you can change your mindset. Like, I promise. What you need to do, things that I recommend, just keep going back to the doctors until they can offer you some help, and just keep trying at it and stick to things. But yeah, just keep at it, and I promise, like, your mind can change, because mine has, and I'm literally a completely different person now to who I was like a year ago, and like, oh my gosh, completely different to how I was 3 years ago. So yeah, I basically found that CBT, it wasn't a miracle cure. Like, I still, every time I go on the train, I get so anxious. I hate going on the tube, and I avoid it as much as I can. And I really don't like, I still don't like going to London, and I often like put things off. But you know what? I'm getting there. I'm still working on it. I've improved so much, and hopefully that means that I can improve even more in the future. So yeah, CBT for me wasn't a miracle cure, but it definitely helped, and it definitely like pushed me to, you know, start the process of changing my brain, I guess. So yeah, I think just the things that I learned from it, I then kind of was able to like implement myself. So yeah, that's basically my story, and I'm gonna do a Q&A, so if you guys could leave me some questions down below that you want to know, and hopefully I can offer some advice and stuff like that in a future video. And yeah, I will also leave a lot of websites down below that can offer some information and hopefully some help. So yeah, that's basically it. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope this was kind of inspiring. It might not have been, but hopefully it was. Even if it's just one person, then that would be great. So yeah, thank you guys for watching, and you can get better, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.